Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, according to this other YouTuber, I'm a bitch ass nigga and a sellout. um, and, this person did this video in response to my video about Lil Wayne endorsing Donald Trump. And what I'm going to do is take time to respond to this guy's video. And I'm not going to, resort to name calling and all that other childish stuff. I'm just going to deal with the substantive points that he raised during his particular video. One of the points that he raised was this. He talked about how Joe Biden supported the crime bill, the 1994 crime bill, a crime bill that has contributed to the problem of mass incarceration. And he was basically saying that I'm a sellout for supporting such a man. So this is what I have to say to that. I mean, first of all, the fact that people are going all the way back to the 90s to find something about him speaks volumes in and of itself, especially given the fact that the opponent that he's going against has all these examples of modern day things that he has done that are racist. All these examples of things that he has done, things that he has said, and policies that he has implemented, not in the 90s, not in the 70s, but today. But yet people want to bring up the 1994 crime bill. And I think that that's ridiculous. The other thing that I'll say is this. We have to look at the 94 crime bill in context. We have to look at the times, what was going on at that particular time. At that time, you had a crack epidemic. You had violence spiraling out of control in many black communities around this country. Communities like Detroit, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Los Angeles. Crime spiraling out of control. Violence plaguing our communities. Crack destroying our communities, destroying our families. That's what you had to deal with. And people were desperately in search of answers to that problem. To the point where this crime bill wasn't just supported by some, white Democrats or anything like that. It was supported by the Congressional Black Caucus for the reasons that I previously stated. Now, people understood later, all these years later, in later years, that this was a bad decision because it had a devastating impact on the black community. It contributed to the problem of mass incarceration. And many people have acknowledged that that was a mistake, including Joe Biden. And more important than acknowledging that it's a mistake, Joe Biden has been a part of implementing reforms to address the problem of mass incarceration. All we have to do is look at the Obama administration under which Joe Biden served. That administration enacted the Fair Sentencing Act, an act designed to substantially reduce the sentencing disparities between crack and powder cocaine. Those disparities contributed to the problem of mass incarceration. Also, when you look at the Obama administration's policies in the Justice Department, where they decided to no longer push for mandatory minimums and harsh penalties for nonviolent drug offenders, many of whom are black. And then you have the Obama administration granting clemency to many nonviolent drug offenders. So not only did Biden do work during his time in the Obama administration, he is proposing criminal justice reforms that are substantive, that are substantial, that will address this problem of mass incarceration. What he is doing today and what he has done in more recent years is important and is being overlooked by these people that want to harp on the 94 crime bill. And the sad thing is, these people that are so concerned about what happened in 1994 or what happened in the 70s, it seems like they don't have that same level of concern for the things that are happening now under this Trump administration. They don't have that same level of concern when it comes to all the racist things that Donald Trump has said, when it comes to all the racist policies that he has supported, all the policies that he is supporting today that are detrimental to the black community. So that was the first point that I wanted to respond to. Another thing that he brought up was he mentioned Where I Work, and he mentioned the civil rights organization supporting Democrats and all that kind of stuff. First of all, Where I Work is irrelevant to the topic of these videos. Another thing is this, he talked about how this organization supports Democrat. The fact of the matter is it's a nonpartisan organization that does not publicly or privately support any political candidates or parties. So that disposes of this myth that the organization that he was referencing is some kind of democratic organization or it supports Democrats when it's a nonpartisan organization. The other thing that he talked about was Kamala Harris, and I've done a prior video responding to Tariq Nasheed's criticism of Biden and Kamala Harris. I encourage you all to check that video out. It goes into far more detail than this particular video will go into. He complained about Kamala Harris locking up all these black men and the problem of mass incarceration. First of all, some people deserve to be locked up. If you are somebody terrorizing your community, destroying your community, you deserve to go to jail. And if you're a prosecutor, that's your job to lock up criminals. So that's the first thing. The other thing is this, these people ignore all the reforms that Kamala Harris implemented during her time as a district attorney and as as a state's attorney for the entire state of California. They ignore all the reforms that she's done with respect to bias in policing, with respect to programs designed to give young men and young people, period, a second chance, so that they can get an education and not serve jail time. They ignore all that. They conveniently ignore that record. So instead of me rehashing all that, I will just post a link in the cards to a prior video that I did in response to Tariq Nasheed that goes through all these details about that, about the positive things that she has done. She has a mixed record, but she has done many great things that have been beneficial to the black community. And when you compare the only two choices in this race, let's not get it twisted and live in some fantasy world. Third-party candidates on the presidential level have zero chance of being elected. This election comes down to two people, two choices. And what people need to do is evaluate those two choices and see which one is in the best interest of our community. All you have to do is compare the two plans. Can you really take a man seriously that cooked up some kind of plan to quote-unquote benefit black people at the last minute? Waited to the last couple of weeks of the election to come up with some fake platinum plan. And some people are so gullible and so ignorant that they actually think that that's going to do something for the black community. You can't compare that superficial fake plan to Joe Biden's proposals. And I will post links to both of the plans so that you can read them for yourself. Don't just listen to me. Don't listen to these people telling you that Joe Biden is not addressing the black agenda, etc. Many of these people haven't even read the Lift Every Voice plan that Joe Biden has, but they want to lecture you about how Joe Biden doesn't have any kind of plan to address a black agenda. His agenda is laid out for the black community. And more importantly, it's up to us to push our agenda and to hold him accountable for the things that he is campaigning for. So that's one point that I had to respond to. This notion that this guy was putting forth in this video that Joe Biden offers us nothing is a damn lie. All you got to do is look at the website. Again, the link will be posted in the description box so that you can read it for yourself. Plans about education, plans about criminal justice reform, plans about police reform. All of those things are laid out in Joe Biden's website for you to read for yourself. So these people that are telling you he has nothing for the black community, they're just straight up lying, or they're just uninformed and ignorant. So that's a point that I had to respond to. Um, Another thing is this, man. You know, this talk of reparations, like he mentioned how if somebody doesn't support reparations, then he can't support them. You know, these people with these one issues, these single issues that decide the election, you know, who they're going to vote for, you know, those people are immature. These people don't understand the reality of politics. I support reparations. You all know my material. I support reparations, and I believe that we need to push for reparations. And those people who are serious need to be pushing for HR 40. But that being said, you know, you have Joe Biden running in this general election. It's not even practical for somebody on that kind of level to be talking about reparations and actually thinking that they have a realistic chance of winning a general election where you have to appeal to a wide audience of people. So, you know, that's one thing. Like, they're already trying to label people like Joe Biden as a socialist, even though he's a moderate. They're trying to label the Democrats as supporting anarchy. So, you know, if he were to support reparations, they would use that as a rallying cry and that would make it easier for him to lose a general election. So I think that if we are serious about reparations, we need to be pushing in Congress, pushing and supporting the proposals that are already on the table, like HR 40. And these people that are like, they're not going to support Joe Biden or they're not going to vote because of this issue of reparations, they are idiots. Because we have other issues that affect our community. Reparations is not the only issue on the table when it comes to the black community. You know, we have health care on the table. We have education on the table. We have economic development on the table. We have the problem of mass incarceration on the table. We have the problem of police brutality on the table. All of these issues that need to be addressed. We can't afford to be singular in our focus and miss an opportunity. These people are acting like they think that Donald Trump is going to do anything about reparations. Donald Trump doesn't even acknowledge that police brutality is a problem. Donald Trump doesn't even acknowledge that there's a problem of institutionalized racism in this country. Do you think by holding back your vote and helping this man get reelected that that's actually going to help the cause for reparations when he doesn't even acknowledge racism in this country? You are a fool if you believe that that's the case. That, you know, helping to get him reelected is going to do anything for our struggle for reparations. And then, you know, people keep talking about, you know, this Democratic plantation, you know, just regurgitating all this rhetoric from these Republicans. The Democratic Party is not a plantation, and people are not slaves that are supporters of the Democratic Party. There is a reason why black people support the Democratic Party. When you look at our issues, you know, whether we're talking about voting rights, affirmative action, we're talking about police issues, we see that other two parties, the Democrats, are more in line with our issues and our agenda, and that is why black people support Democrats over Republicans. It's the Republicans that are trying to suppress your vote, passing these voter suppression laws in southern Republican-dominated states and other places. That's your Republican Party. It's your Republican Party that's calling for law and order at a time when police are killing our people and making the protesters look like they are the terrorists, like they are the problem, instead of addressing the problem of police brutality. But these people want to ignore that reality, and they want to live in Fantasy Island and actually think that by sitting at home, you're going to make a better situation for black people when all you are doing is empowering our enemies. You know, so this is not about blind support. And the last thing I want to address is this. Like, he raised this whole point about the LGBT community. This guy went on to say, well, how can you support the Democrats and they support LGBT issues and you're a Muslim? First of all, this country that we live in is not a theocracy. This is a democracy in theory. It is a secular society. We don't live in the handmaiden's tale where, religious fanatics govern the country. Religion is a private affair. Religion is between a person and their God. It is not somebody's role to impose their religious beliefs on others. If somebody doesn't believe in, engaging in homosexual activity or same-sex marriage, don't engage in it and don't have a same-sex marriage. But let others make decisions for themselves. We can't become the thought police and the moral police and all that kind of stuff. That is an individual decision that people make or a lifestyle that they are a part of. And that's their personal business. These people that are so preoccupied and concerned with the LGBT community, I think some of these people are suspect. I think some of these people are struggling with their own sexual identity and sexual orientation. And they cover it up by going hard at the LGBT community and all that kind of stuff. And the other point is this, I believe that people should have rights, regardless of their sexual orientation, regardless of, their race or their religion and all that kind of stuff. People should not be subjected to racism and oppression based on their identity. How would I look, advocating against discrimination against black people, but then be okay with discrimination against people based on their sexual orientation, or being okay with hate crimes being committed against people because of their sexual orientation, when I speak out against hate crimes being committed against black people because of the color of their skin. So those are my points. That's my response to this guy. I'm not going to mention his name. Don't want to hype him up or give him free publicity. He's not worthy to have his name mentioned in my videos. So that's my 2 cents. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content on here. Peace and blessings. Have a good evening, and I will be back with more content soon. And I plan to do live streams probably once a week once I get back on track. Peace and blessings, everyone.